You don't gain confidence before you show up. You gain confidence because you did show up. We fall too often into the thought that we're going to find some kind of readiness. If we just keep looking for it, we'll find a way to get ready. But readiness isn't the fuel. Readiness is the result of action. Clarity grows from doing. Confidence builds from just simply showing up. Let's talk about that today. Hi, my name is Steve Kidd. I'm a third-generation minister, international best-selling author of 39 books and counting. I've had the amazingly wonderful privilege of working with nearly 5,000 authors now, helping them write, publish, market their books to bestseller, and everything that goes beyond that. And I'm here to help you find your true clarity. I am here to be the architect for your visibility, because I can tell you, visibility is what you want, but visibility is a result of your clarity, your consistency, and your connection. Visibility is your ability to have and share and be the voice that you want to be in the world, but it comes from your consistent action. It's not something that happens because you want, wish, hope, pray, dream that it's going to happen. It's not something that happens because you spend days, weeks, months, decades, developing the perfect systems and processes for it. Clarity comes from doing. Clarity comes from the work that we put in. It's a result of the time that we spent. Now, yeah, some of that time is spent with coaches. It's spent in coaching and in processing and in doing the things that we need to do in order to be able to really, truly understand, who we really are. And some of that, to quote the old phrase, you can't read the label of the jar that you're on the inside. Some of that does definitely mean that you need to spend some time working with somebody like me, I'd hope, but somebody that's going to help you find that true clarity in all that you are and all that you do. But the majority of that is going to come from you simply spending the time and doing it consistently. Now, I want you to hear the word consistent. I'm going to say it a lot today. If you're looking for a drinking game to use for today, consistency would absolutely be the word. Consistency, consistent, all those would absolutely be the word that you want to latch onto. And I promise you will be completely, blatheringly drunk by the end of this episode, because consistency is the thing that I want to really just hone in on today. Okay, now we have clarity and we have connection. We've talked about, we just want to reiterate it if you're here for the first time, or if you still aren't clear. We have clarity, consistency, and connection. Connection is your heartbeat. It is how you show up in the world. You want to make the difference that only you can make in this world. That comes from your connection. Okay. And we then connect with the people that we're meant to serve and the people that we want to help because of all of those heart condition kind of things that make us want to be the change that we want to see in the world. Okay. That's connection. And we will reach out to the people that we know we can help, and we will connect with them to do those things and make that difference. Okay. Consistency is about doing it regularly. And we're going to go more into that here in a second. And then clarity, and consistency is how your heart shows up in the world. All right. And then clarity is about really being yourself, truly just being yourself. Now, you need help sometimes in seeing, the beyond that. The clarity is a question of let's just say, for example, the example I've used many times, you're constantly telling your children, clean up your room, clean up your room, clean up your room, clean up your room. Clarity is drilling down on that to ask yourself why. Why is it important to me that these children clean up their room? In spite of what they might think, feel, believe, tell all their friends, it may not be because you're a tyrant. Just throwing that out to you, that possibly you're not the awful person that your teens or young adults, depending on how quickly they grow up and take responsibility for themselves. Sometimes it happens quick, sometimes it never happens. Whatever, but what's the why beneath that? And even if even if you deem you as being a tyrant, that probably isn't really what it is. There is skills you want to give them. There is outcomes from how you were raised, all of those kind of things. And as we drill down on that, my phone is going to go crazy during this whole entire episode today because that's just the way it's going to be. And we're just going to roll with it. Okay. So if I reach over and turn off the next call, or if somebody bleeps the phone 1,000 times, that's cool. Right. We talked about the fact that right now my volume button on my phone doesn't work. So until the phone gets replaced with a new phone, it just gets to join in with us here. All right. And see, your clarity gives you the ability to roll with the punches and stuff like that. So that's what clarity is. Clarity is drilling down to know the why behind the why and to get deep enough into it. And then you begin to see that beautifully amazing thing that is you. Okay. Now, as I said, clarity is an element of two things. It's an element of, well, I'm going to actually say three things. Okay. It's an element of you doing the work in discovering who you are, asking yourself those questions and drilling down to what that means. It is an element of you are going to need to take that part of the 3 C's, and you do need to work with somebody. I would be honored to be that person. Absolutely, I would. And I've got some GPTs that we can bring in that just kind of help spark your imagination. No matter how great the data set is, there is no custom GPT that can help you know yourself. You put the information in, and then you need somebody that can help you really understand, what does that mean to me? Why am I triggered, good and bad, by this particular response? And we can drill deeper into that. And you need somebody to help you with that. Okay? I mean, and it wouldn't matter whether you're talking DISC, Myers-Briggs, human design, on and on and on. I mean, there are a gazillion of those personality profile tests. And there's value in every single one of them, but the value only comes when you really understand, okay, so I'm an whatever, depending on which test it is, right? I am this kind of a thing or that kind of a thing. That only really matters as much as you then can know and see how has that shown up in your whole life. Okay, using human design, because I have a coach right now that's her real big thing. And so I'm acutely aware of that particular one right now, and my quote unquote personality type is human design type. Okay, if you want to use the words properly, is a manifesting generator. And the way that shows up in my life is, if you looked at my computer right now, I have tons and tons of multiple tabs open at any given time. And I may be working on literally 2 or 3 projects, plus having, you've heard the messages going, and I just go over and I do it. And a manifesting generator, according to what I'm told, because I needed the training too, and I still have those people in my life, always has multiple plates spinning and lives in that space. They literally get bored if there was only just one plate. They would go and find another plate to spin. And that's both good and bad. It is what it is. It's not a negative critique. Okay. And whatever test you take, and I've taken, I think, just about all of them between, parents that both have master's degree and different types of, counseling and, those kind of things. So I understand all those. But you need somebody that can help you then see, how does that apply to your life? All right. And that is, so that's the second element. The third element, and the thing we really want to focus on today, is more than any, those are like building blocks. Okay. Those give you the tools that you need to be able to do the thing that you have to do to really truly get clarity. And that third piece is what you have to put to it. And that's called action. You have to take action. Clarity comes, you can do every single test there is in the world, and you can know every single one of those. We went through the list: DISC and Human Design and Myers-Briggs, and the Jungian version of Myers-Briggs that came before Myers-Briggs, and blah 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 blah. Just the list goes on, and every time I turn around, there's another one. And some of them I could tell you absolutely. Most of them I have taken, and I couldn't tell you what the names of them are to save my life. Okay. The cool part about it is when you begin to see that you are the same you on all those tests, that the drill down on each one of them just basically says, that you that last test said you were, guess what? You're them. You're you. Hey, amazing. That's a powerful thing to be able to discover. Those are the tools that you bring in, and then you have to use practice, drill, rehearse, is what we used to say in music. Okay, you have to be out there and do it. The clarity that those tools are offering you the opportunity to get comes from consistently using them. Let me say that word again: consistently. I know. Consistently using them. Okay. If you just randomly are working on these things, it's kind of over here on sidelines. And I'm not saying quit your job and spend 24 hours a day just drilling down into getting really totally clear on you. Two reasons why. Number one, because, the bill people are not going to wait. And number two is you're going to keep learning and growing and developing, even if all you did was locked yourself in a room and all you did was worked on your on your clarity. By the time you were done with that, you would have developed, and there would always be more. You would never, you could starve to death and die, and you still would not have reached to the end of that journey, because it's a lifelong journey. And that's why we need that consistent action element. Because what we want to look at is, how can I be the best me today? And I want you to embrace the power of that amazingly, wonderfully cool word called today. Now, we've talked a little bit about this in others, and you've heard me quote my good friend Ernie Villanueva, who used to always say, yesterday's a canceled check. Tomorrow is a promissory note. Today is the only legal tender you can spend. Think about it with, if you're the kind of person, if you're not self-employed people, I apologize for all of us that our income isn't necessarily quite that predictably consistent, meaning that you get a check on every Friday for X amount. Can be way better than that and all those kind of things. But I hope you can follow in, you're paying employees or something, so you get this idea. Okay. But today is like picking up your wallet. Here's my wallet right here. Picking up your wallet. And it can be cards or it could be cash, but it's the money that is in the account that you could spend today. Okay. And in this particular example, I'm not talking about any credit cards you might have in your wallet. I'm talking about debit cards and cash. Okay. Actual money that is in an account someplace that when you spend it, it's gone, but you don't then owe on it later. Okay. You're not spending tomorrow. All right. We're talking about what you have on hand right now. Okay. And in this particular case, we're not talking about, my house is worth X, and if I sold, okay, we're talking about right here, right now. What can you take action on that you have right available to you right now? And I know I hear my own voice saying it, so I'll say it for you. But Steve, if I have a credit card with an X amount limit, I can spend that right now. Okay. And you're absolutely right. And we could go down that path, but I'd like to kind of remove that concept from your thinking for a little bit here, because in real life, we can't really borrow from tomorrow. We can't spend the money that we're going to make tomorrow. We can't defer today. We can't, in other words, bring into today and spend tomorrow before we get to it. We don't have the capability of doing that when we're talking about living and being. Okay. So again, like you said, this particular case, credit cards don't count. All right. I know they do in money life. All right. You with me? Okay, cool. So whatever that amount that you've got is, readily available cash, in cash or in a debit card or what have you. And to some extent, there could be some limits on, like you could have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank account. And if it's like it is right now today, Sunday, and the bank isn't open, your ATM card is going to have a max that it can take each day. And your debit card is going to have a max that you can spend on that debit card. So there's only a certain amount of that money that you can actually spend. And that's why it's good, because just like that, you can't spend 100% of you today. It's not possible. You cannot pour out your whole entire life's blood. And by you cannot, what I'm really saying is you should not. It would not be healthy or wise for you to literally kill yourself giving everything you've got today. Okay? We're not talking about that. We're talking about, what can you do today? What do you have the ability to make the most and best use of today? And consistency comes when we approach every single day from that standpoint. Not what's the perfect plan, not let's spend all day planning out what we're going to do today and then oops, the day's gone. And before you know it, if you have the plan done, you don't have the time to do it now. The sun went down, it became 12:01 a.m. the next day, and you spent the whole day planning. And we're talking about doing. So it's not about that plan, it's about the action. It's about taking what you know of yourself. Okay, we talked about the tools that you brought in, your own work, the work that your coaches helped you with, and your ability then to take those and go, okay, how can I take action on that today? How can I show up in this world as the me that I want to be? How can I, like, for example, me, go on a live stream and talk for 30 or 40 minutes, no matter how many times ChatGPT tells me that I should really make it 18 to 25 minutes? It's probably not going to happen. I'm working on it, but it's probably not going to happen. I just know me well enough. And that's okay, because that just gives both myself and the rest of my team that are helping create shorts, it just gives more content for us to use. So we ask ourselves that thing. And so our consistency comes from waking up every morning. And I'm not saying you have to be, I love it, because Tony Robbins talks about being the kind of person that jumps up and greets the day. And I don't think I'm ever going to be that person. I am not a morning person. I am definitely a night owl. If it could be, like 10 o'clock at night, jump up and greet the rest of the night and work until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we could be talking about that. Tony and I could have a really great discussion about that. I'm probably never going to just bounce out like a Tigger. I mean, I am a Tigger, but I'm not going to bounce out like a Tigger out of bed and, tackle Winnie the Pooh with my excited, joyful, buoyant, bounciness, whatever, first thing in the morning. So I'm not necessarily saying before your feet even hit the ground, you're all up and hyper and pumped. Okay. But when I say starting off our day, as you start into your day, the number one thing you need to do is really know, how can I be the best me that I can be today? I had one billionaire friend. His name was Errol Abramson. I miss him. There's something really super cool about living in an apartment by yourself, and going through all the stuff that I've been through and stuff, and having a close personal friendship with a multi-billionaire who, by the way, was actually living in his apartment by himself and had, though about a decade earlier, gone through a pretty messy divorce himself, a really painful one at least. And to be able to talk about those kind of things and about business and about life and to hear some of the cool things that he was doing. And Errol used as an example what he likes to call green folders and red folders. And because, he's an amazing business person, had 47 companies with none of them that ever failed. And had two actually beyond that 47. Those were the 47 that he bought and or started and sold for $1 million to $1 billion. No failures. Amazing, amazing track record that I don't know anybody else that can quote that. And he had two multi-billion-dollar businesses he was running at the end of his life. But he referred to green folders as the actions that you can take that are going to ring the cash register. And the red folders were everything else. All of the operational things and the stuff and the, all of that kind of stuff. And now, if your job at work or inside your company is an operational position, so in other words, you're not a salesperson, you're fulfilling on the sale that was made, that's still ringing the cash register. Because you doing those fulfillment things are the things that make that person glad they spent the money, make them not do chargebacks, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm saying? Okay, but green folders is the perfect example of what can I do? What am I? Who am I? All of those kind of things. I'm trying to say like 5 things all at once. What is the thing that to show up as the best version of me that I must do today? How do I maximize today by being the best version of myself? Everything else can go to the side. And, you can go Einsteinian with it, in other words, Einstein, to the point where, wasn't uncommon for his hair to be completely a mess and his clothing to be all disheveled. In fact, I read a story one time that when he was working as a professor on a college campus, he was so up in his head with the things that he was maximizing in his own life, that everything else really didn't matter. And literally his students would come up and, in the middle of the quad or whatever, would run up and tap him on the shoulder and go, "Professor Einstein, it's time to start class." And he would just turn around to the group of them, however big the group was, and I'm sure he didn't even recognize how big or small the group was, and start giving the lecture. He had it. He knew it. He knew the stuff. It wasn't, it wasn't him maximizing. It wasn't him thinking through the thought experiment of what the theory of relativity is and what that means. Now, I'm not saying you need to be quite that kooky and you need to go days without bathing or brushing your hair. I'm not saying you can't put on a collar shirt when you want to go live. I'm also not saying you have to. You could be in a t-shirt, fuzzy slippers, hair disheveled, unshaven, whatever, and pick up the phone and go, "Hi, today I'd really just like to talk to you about," and just go for it. You can learn all of the tricks and the tips and get more polished and perfect over the how to do the right hook and how to make sure you have a clear call to action, and how to set up the right description for it so that it has, hashtags and the right flow and it really engages with people. All of those are superfluous, because the truth of the matter is that as you maximize in the world, people are going to be drawn to you. They're going to want to work with you. And money is going to come if, as we talk about and how can I help you today, if you embrace a life of radical generosity. I promise you, the harder and the more that you give, the more that you will receive. It's just a natural way life works. Nature abhors a vacuum. It will fill in that vacuum that you're creating by giving, 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 giving. And eventually, you need to get to the place where, and I'm still training the person, so I'm still creating the basic themes for the days and the weeks and the months. And of course, I'm the one who is, is doing the lives. But eventually I'll get to the place where, they'll log in here to my StreamYard, they'll have it all set up, and right at the top of the hour, I'll just hit the go button and I'll just talk. I'll have something up on my screen that says, today you're going to be talking about blah, blah, blah. On your market, set, go. I mean, I already kind of like being that kind of speaker. I've said to many people, it's like, just give me the microphone, tell me what you want me to talk about. I'm going to talk about it from my point of view, my expertise, those kind of things. And there are subjects that I don't know. Okay. It's not like I'm, Einsteinian and you just give it to me and I'm just absolutely brilliant at everything. I'm really great at the stuff that I'm really great at. And I would stay in that lane. And I encourage you to be thinking, even as you're doing it all yourself right now, be thinking in the lines of, what is the part of this that is the me that I need to show up every day consistently? Now, everybody's different. Everybody has different personalities. My good friend Margaret, she's such an amazing individual. She has the gifting of helps in the most incredible way. And I talked about her a little bit, I think it was yesterday, about her. She used to work for Lisa Nichols. And she was the person who noticed when the water started to get low, noticed that there was no handrail and that people needed somebody to help them down. She wasn't the person that took action on those. She didn't want to be on stage with the water jug filling up Lisa's water. She didn't want that kind of exposure. It wasn't who she was personality-wise. She would fill up the water, make sure it was nice and cool water as opposed to just yucky room temperature water. And she would hand it to some strapping young man or whatever and have them go up. She might even instruct them on how to do it quietly and subtly so that they just went in, filled up the water and went back off and weren't really seen on stage. And that may be your place. Learning then to develop the eyes to see the needs of the person or people that you're meant to serve. One of the most, regardless of what you think about their music or not, one of the most amazing performance bands ever is the band of the Scorpions. The song that wrote the song, the group that wrote the song Rock You Like a Hurricane. They have others, but that's my favorite of theirs. And the reason being is because when they practiced, they didn't just practice notes. They weren't all sitting around in chairs, sit back with a guitar, like this. They practiced full costume, full stage, full setup, full sound, full lights. And they and I don't know that necessarily like when they were, I'm sure when they were writing the songs, they did those in a different format. But when it came to getting ready to go back out on tour, they spent months. Okay. And so they knew, every single person knew exactly where this guy was going to be. They had it not just choreographed, but practiced to the point where, when the singer comes over and sings with the lead guitar player, that wasn't just some kind of fun happenstantial thing, which it typically is. That was planned. And the coolest thing you'll ever see is when the lead singer takes the mic off of the stand and takes and throws the mic stand just like this, not looking, and on cue, on the downbeat, a roadie steps out from behind the curtain, catches right on time, catches the mic stand, and steps back. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't oh, I'm sick of this thing. That was planned over and over and over and practiced, and that mic stand crashed into curtains and went here and went there. And, the person missed it and didn't get out in time, and he got in too soon and got hit in the face with it. I promise you all that stuff happened. But when you see them in concert, you don't do that. And when you want to be really cool and polished, that comes because you did it, not because you practiced it, but because you performed it. Now, I'm not real big on performativeness when it comes to what we do, but I am absolutely big on you got to do it. And then, take the feedback, listen to your ears, hearing your voice going, oh, wow, that was really crazy and off. Find ways, build in mentorship and things like that to get you more clarity, more understanding of what was good, what was bad, what needs to be changed. And then hone it into the perfect you. If your perfect you is 5-second clips. I was talking to somebody who's going to be one of the speakers at our event that we're doing in January. And we weren't talking about the event. We were talking about actually videos that she wanted to do. And we were talking about length and stuff. And she's one of these kind of people that is very good at being concise. In fact, she'd prefer to be concise. And so when I was talking to her about doing a video that was, short clips, reels, if you will, or video shorts if you're on YouTube, that they need to be 30 to 60 seconds max. Boom, done. She's like, I love that. And I said, and then videos really, you don't really want them to be more than about 2 or 3 minutes long. Lives are different, but the repurposed with a thumbnail on the front of it and blah, 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 2 to 3 minutes. She's like, I love that. She's like, and we were talking more about it. I was like, because you love talking in those short forms like that anyway, what you should do is just pick up your phone and just do it. Do a 30-second reel. Do a 30-second clip. Go in and say something really punchy and powerful for like 2 minutes and then just be done. She's like, wow, that makes it so much better and easier for me. Because you're going to show up as you. 2 minutes might be your long form videos, unlike my 30 or 40-minute ones. That's okay. And the clarity of knowing you and the clarity of understanding, I don't like doing these long things. Or, in my case, I can outline something that's a 5-minute thing, but I like to talk to you. I want to spend this half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour with you because I enjoy this time. And this is me getting my own clarity, but also just really pouring into your life. And then I've got a team of people that are working with me now, helping me be able to repurpose all that and put it out in forms that the people that I want to reach really want to hear it in. Because I know that about 2 minutes is most people's break points. And that's okay. You'll find this really cool 2-minute thing and my people will put it out and you'll be like, wow, that was really powerful. And you may never even know. You may, in fact, be listening to it live, right? Or, a short of it right now. And then you may be actually listening to a clip of something that when I originally did this, it was 40 or 50 minutes long. It was 25 or 30 or 35 minutes long. And you heard something that was 20 seconds. You heard something that was 2 minutes. Got exactly what you needed and moved on. But you consistently show up as you. However that looks like as you. And in that consistency is where the tools of doing the research on who you are yourself, working with a coach, and having them help you read the label of the jar you're in. That's where it shows up. That's where those tools show up in your life. and help you be able to make the impact that you really want to. I know you want to make in this world. Consistency is absolutely has to be. What if you took your first consistent step today? Let me make it easier for you. I created a safe start script, and this is just safe starts. Here are some things that you can start with. If you will, they're starter prompts. Okay, and maybe that's a better name for them. I don't know. Well, I'll play around with the naming on that. But the safe start scripts, those are yours totally for free. Drop the word clarity. I want to send you my safe start scripts and then an invite to the Visibility Amplifier community. Okay? Our Visibility Amplifier community is here for you to practice that. And I want to make it real easy for you. And I'm working on myself too to make it easier for you. So just drop the word clarity in a DM or in the comments, and let's get you those safe start scripts so that you can begin to consistently every day. So your first action today to show up as the best version of you is to drop the word clarity and get those safe start scripts. Okay? And then we'll go from there. Tomorrow, because we're going to be on every day. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how momentum actually really loves consistency. How much it really, really just adores it when you're consistency. When you're consistent, the momentum will overtake you and will rush you like if you're surfing and the wave catches up with you and pulls you all the way into the shore. And until tomorrow, I'm on your team. And I'm here for you any way that you need me. Please feel free to reach out. Even if it's not dropping the word clarity, even if it's just you need something, I'm here. Okay? I want you to live and be and know just how powerful you are. And so until we're together again next time, I'm here for you. And I hope you have a great week.